Hey everybody, it's Ben Schneider back again for another episode of the Ben Schneider Show, episode 19. We've got a great guest for you guys today. It's Jesse Edwards, but if you're on the cross-country team, you probably know him as Tunes, and he's a graduate of Gordon, graduated class of 2018. Avid runner, obviously, also a great musician. Tunes, I'm sure you can tell me all the instruments you play, and know you're a good singer as well. And also a big Marvel fan, and we're going to get into a lot of MCU related talk as well. So, Tunes, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a little while since I last saw you. So, just to start off, how have you been?
I've been doing fine. Clearly, this whole pandemic thing is affecting everyone's lives, but that's really affected my life too much, so I'm fine and dandy.
Yeah, I seem you're just home right now.
Yeah, I grew a
Yeah,
beard in that process. There's something else to do.
yeah, I haven't shaved in a while either. How are you still able to work right now, or what have you been up to?
I've just been chilling at the house. My office, I guess, isn't claimed as an essential business, so they just closed our building until further notice. I'm just waiting for the call to go back.
What are you doing right now?
Right now, I'm working at a front desk kind of position at a dental practice in Concord.
Okay. How long have you been
It's
there?
I've been there for about a year now.
All right. How do you like it?
It's fine. There's some days are better than others, obviously, but I feel like I've learned a good amount of things along the way, and there's a few more things to come that I'm eager to learn about. It's not ideal, but it's something to do while I'm waiting to be financially independent.
Sure. Yeah, well, Tunes, I've known you for a couple of years now, but my first year at Gordon was your last. So there's a lot about your um, journey to Gordon that I don't really know about, and also the history of your involvement with the team and your first 3 years on campus. So I guess just to start off, tell me how you first heard about Gordon, what the college decision process was like, and a little bit about your first few years on campus.
Okay, well, when I first learned about Gordon, it was probably around my senior year in high school. I was going to the guidance counselor's office to find something I don't even remember but there was this big sign that said Gordon College. It was like a banner. It had the campus view and everything. I thought that it looked like a good Christian school, and I was becoming more and more involved with Christianity and God. So I thought, yeah, I'll apply to this school. My second choice was obviously going to be somewhere close to home, like UNH. I didn't want to go too far away because I didn't know if the family was going to need me for any family-related crisis. So I applied to Gordon, and it was very early at the time. Then I went down to the acceptance day, or no, not acceptance day, just welcoming day in November, and the people decided to do an interview for me on that day. So I was like, oh, okay. So I just had the interview, and about a month later in December, I learned that I got in, and I was actually very surprised given my SAT scores. So I just decided to stick with Gordon, and my parents really liked the program and what the school looks like, the environment, the people. So I thought, yeah, why not? Let's do it.
I know you're a very avid runner, and you've been keeping up with that.
Oh yes, the team.
How did you get into the sport of running?
Oh, we're gonna go back to the very beginning, way before college. Uh, I started to athletics pretty late in my life. I experimented with all the childhood sports, rec, baseball, basketball, soccer. None of them were working out for me. I was always too distracted on the field, pondering my own thoughts and all that. And I didn't want to get physically hurt by any balls or bats or anything. So I was wandering around school, and I found out about cross country. My brother was actually doing it a year before I started, which was in seventh grade, by the way. And the reason why I started was because, honestly, truth be told, I believe I had a crush on a girl, and I just wanted to try to impress her. But she actually left the team before I started, so figures. It wasn't a total loss. I was also pretty large in seventh grade. I gave myself the nickname of Jiggles. So I just thought, you know what, it's time for a change. But then I really didn't get actually into it until from 15 because I continued in high school. My 5K time in my first freshman race was 32:09, and for me that was a big yikes. And I really wanted to work out at it. By sophomore year, I lost about 30 pounds, and by senior year, my 5K was 19:07, and I love the progress I made. So I looked at the programs at college, obviously. I was never recruited, unfortunately. So I just, like many others, volunteered to sign up. And Patrick Rich, the coach at the time, he gave me all the information on what to prepare for preseason and what the practices are going to be like and the differences between high school and college. And it was probably the only thing that kept me sane during college. What I remember about freshman year is one particular practice. It was after a 2:10 class got out, so it was around 3:10. I needed to go talk to a professor, and she kept talking to me until about 3:35. I had no time to change or anything, so I went to the practice in my school clothing, like a button-down shirt and khakis, and I just ran the whole hour run in that time frame. So
You didn't like run back to your dorm to get a change of clothes quickly? You just went straight to practice?
went straight to practice. There was no time. I was like, grin and bear it, grin and bear it.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if I were a coach, I'd want you to, I'd let you go back and get some athletic clothes on. I don't know.
It was a rookie mistake. I made a
Did
lot
you
of
have
rookie
sneakers
mistakes.
on at least?
I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I did.
good. I guess that's the most important thing. But
It was a big transition to start off with the college team. I was used to just doing like half hour, 45-minute practices, nothing too fancy or big. And we did long runs in high school for like an hour, and those were I considered long runs back in the day. So when I learned that we did 1 hour runs every day, that was kind of a mental and physical challenge for me.
yeah. So what other meets or races do you remember, or practices, I guess, that stand out to you from uh, your early days at Gordon?
I remember my first meet. I believe that was going to be no, that's a lie. The second meet. Uh, the first meet was actually at New England College in Henniker, which is about 20 minutes away from me, which was nice. I was home for Labor Day weekend that year. But the next race, UNE, I actually got a call from Coach Rich saying that the bus is leaving. So that basically woke me up. I just had to pack everything, get out of there like as fast as I could. I was like sprinting to.
So Coach Weicker comes in your junior year. Is that correct? I'm getting the
Coach comes in junior year, yes.
right.
Sophomore year, we had a assistant coach become a head coach, Samantha. That season was pretty interesting.
Yeah. What do you remember about that?
Uh, what I can remember is we did a lot of long-ish runs and a lot of speed interval training, and that was basically it. One practice I remember was like right at the end of August. It was incredibly hot, and we did a 5K time trial on the track. It was pretty brutal.
So when Coach Weicker came in, I know all coaches kind of have similar but different philosophies in different ways. What were some of the biggest changes that you noticed when he came in and took over the program?
What I noticed was a lot of more confidence and a lot of more adrenaline, more structure. And I just thought that Whitecourt really brought the best out of us, something that I haven't seen in a long time, maybe ever. That was the time where I actually felt it was a real college team. They actually knew the functions on how to be a working team and a great family. They were the best members I've ever had.
Yeah, I know the family aspect is something that he's really pushed and something that I've gotten to see continue to grow in the last couple of years.
The team has grown so much since my freshman year, or even when Weicker started. I would say there's like 12, 20 max, but it wasn't a lot, as much as how it is now.
Yeah, so you did the mostly distance races in track. Did you do both cross country and track all 4 years?
Yes, I did that through 4 years of high school and college.
So I remember you mostly doing the 5K during track season, that being your main event. Did you ever look at other opportunities to maybe do a shorter distance or any other track events, or was the 5K your main thing, distance your main thing?
Okay, well, that goes back to high school as well. I was experimenting with track since that was my first time doing it. I had no idea what I was going to be or what my best thing would be to offer. Freshman year, I actually participated in a 55-meter. Didn't work so well for me at all. Uh, but then I settled into the moderate kind of races. The 1500, 1600. It was a 1500 in the winter track and 16 in spring. Uh, and the 800. Those were my two ideal races. And I continued that freshman year into college, but I didn't like how I was not improving at all. So Damon actually talked to me and suggested the 5K. I wasn't sure if I was going to mentally handle the 5K because it was like 12 and a half laps on track. I thought 4 was brutal enough, but it actually turned out to be one of the best races for me. So once I discovered it sophomore year, I just stuck with it since.
So everybody knows you as Tunes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know it
T
does.
Tunes. Not like a cartoon, but musically speaking. Tell me how you got that nickname.
Story time. So this goes back to freshman year when we went to La Vida. You know how we do the uh, preseason trip.
Right.
That was a thing back then.
Yeah.
Uh, when the team first started that whole year, I was going through a bad breakup, and I just didn't want to associate with anyone when we weren't running. I was just in the corner of the cabin, just listening to my own music and pondering my own thoughts. And the only thing they saw me do was enjoy music. I kept singing songs, just thinking how I can excel as a musician. So I guess that's where uh, they were gonna call me J Tunes, but you can see how nasty that sounds.
Yeah. And I mean, clearly you've embraced the nickname.
Oh yeah, that's who I am. I embrace it.
Yeah. If people outside of the cross country team started to call you that, or is that something that's mostly just based in from a team there?
Some people in the music field started calling me Tunes. There was a team member, Casey Mann. She was in music as well, and I think she spilled the beans to Dr. David Rocks at one point, and he called me Tunes one day, and I was like, "Where did you hear that?"
Yeah. So obviously you love music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How did you? Where did that passion start?
To my furthest memory, I've always been like an arts kind of kid. I can go back to loving music to when I was 4 at least. I was listening to musicals, I was watching film, and I was just loving every aspect of it. I'm pretty sure my mother has some recordings of me singing and all that jazz. Uh, Originally, I was hoping to be an actor because the Harry Potter series influenced me to think that way, but I'm kind of glad it didn't because as I was doing track and field and more involvement with high school and band, I was falling less and less as an actor. I did continuously participate with the musicals, but that was the full extent of it. So
Yeah. And then you come to Gore. I assume music was your major, right?
not until my sophomore year.
Okay.
Uh,
So what did you
freshman,
start with?
I was undecided freshman year
Okay.
because freshman year was just a really nasty year for me. I didn't know what to do with my life at that point.
Yeah. So
But then I
what led you?
remember
Or
then I
sorry.
remembered I remember how talented I was with music in high school. I really excelled at that when I was 15. So one day I just thought, you know what, I could really use this, and it is kind of a passion. It's part of my daily life. So you know what?
Yeah. So what does the music major entail at Gordon? What do you have to do? I know I actually went to your senior recital, which was a wonderful experience. You did a very good job there. But what kind of builds up into that, or what options do you have to complete that program?
Okay, well, when you start off doing a music program at Gordon, you obviously have to do an audition with the professors who are going to be the adjudicators, and they'll decide if you would get in as a music major or not. Uh, there are a few types of majors you could go into. There's the music education, where you will go down the path of becoming a teacher. There's music performance, which obviously you would go down a music performance kind of path. This would help with getting into grad programs who share that opportunity, and give you a lot of performance opportunities as well, obviously. There's the BA music, which is just a general major, and you can actually work that in with a double major as well if you wanted to do that. And there's also the music minor, but once you get there, there's about 4 types of music theory classes you take: levels 1 through 3, and 4, which is 20th century techniques. You learn stuff that's been used and adapted in the 20th century. It gets a little crazy in that. What else? There's also labs that you have to take with every music theory class you take, which kind of functions as a second kind of class. You know how the original music theory would meet one day and the music theory lab would meet on another day during the normal class time. What else is there? There's also music history. You have to take 2 courses of that. 20th century techniques also kind of combines music history 3 level class. And then after that, to my recent memory, it expands into a more specific path. You will focus more on a music education path. You do classes that will benefit you as a teacher more. You get more experience going to other schools and actually working with kids. Music performance, you just do a lot of more time focusing on your recitals if you plan to do those. And I forgot, there's also piano proficiency. That's a class that's also required for music majors. You can do 2 levels of it. That's the minimum requirement. But if you're educational performance, you would have to do 4 credits. I only had to go up to 2, but I did 4 anyway, just because I wanted to learn more.
So does every music major have to play the piano at some point, I guess?
Yes. They all have to take the piano proficiency class.
As a music major, you also need to take credits with ensembles and private lessons. With music ensembles, you need at least 8 credits, and there are 4 ensembles that you can choose from. Back to my recent memory, that would be with the orchestra, the symphonic band, jazz band, choir, chamber ensemble. It could be any one of those as long as it was 8+ credits. And regarding with private lessons, you needed 12 to 24 credits, depending on what type of specific major it was, either education, performance, and this could be for either instrument or your primary instrument or your primary voice. And those lessons could be either 30 to 60 minutes. You have the power to set that up when you're creating your own schedules.
How many instruments do you play in total?
If you include the piano I learned in Proficiency, I also play the clarinet, and I just try to focus in those areas alone because I like to be precise with what I'm doing. I want to make sure each instrument I do is perfect and just not a waste of time. I'm always open to learning new instruments. I do have is it an alto or a tenor? It's an alto sax in my room, but it's kind of busted. So if I fix that up, I really do want to try to learn that. So I'm always open.
What kind of music do you like to listen to?
My favorite genres would be film score, classical, and jazz, specifically big band kind of jazz.
Oh, well, this might be a nice segue into probably the main reason I wanted to have you on. What do you think of Alan Silvestri and the work that he's done with the Marvel Universe scores?
Well, I've known Alan Silvestri in other films too, such as Forrest Gump, Father of the Bride. He was actually did Lilo and Stitch back in the day. I think the contributions he made were a wonderful addition. The Avengers score isn't the most creative score in the world, but depending on how it's arranged in music, it could be very powerful and quite a triumphant piece of work. I would say that his most creative score would have been Infinity War, because as I listened to the Endgame score, he repeated a lot of stuff from the original Avengers and the first Captain America movie. But I would say Infinity War is the best because it just created the tension to a higher escalation that we haven't seen before. And that was the movie that probably had more battles and intense warfare than the Endgame movie itself. They said Infinity War is going to be like a violence and action throughout, but Endgame was like some sequences. So
Yeah, so in December, I had Courtney Robinold on my show. We talked a lot of Marvel stuff then because she's into film and that's the area she wants to go in communications. You saw that episode and actually commented on the video saying we need to have a long chat about the whole MCU and the history of that. So now that I've got you here, I'll just leave it open to you. I mean, what do you love about the Marvel universe, and what keeps you coming back to it? What do you want to talk about here?
I think I'll go back to the very beginning of how I got interested in Marvel and the MCU in the first place, because originally I was a die-hard Harry Potter fan, and I still love it with a dying passion. Just with this generation of film, the superheroes, Marvel, DC, that's kind of take over the world right now, and the Harry Potter universe is doing too much right now. So, the first movie I saw was the first Avengers movie, and that was because honestly, it was a day in high school. We had no school because of some bad weather, so my brother and I watched it on pay-per-view. I thought it was good, but I was very confused, so I didn't think too much of the movie at the time. A few months later, I saw the original Iron Man film. It was around when my band took a trip to New York City, and I was very impressed with Robert Downey Jr. and how much fun he had with the character, how much he made it alive, and was basically becoming a better man because of the role. Then I had another breakup in high school, and my friend recommended Iron Man 3. Again, this was back when I wasn't too into Marvel, but I watched it, and it really made me feel a lot better. So I decided to watch the other Marvel movies, see how I felt about them. I liked Thor a lot and the first Captain America movie, but honestly, at the time, my favorite was Robert Downey Jr., and then would follow Thor, then Steve. Later, senior year, The Winter Soldier was coming out, and I saw an ad that really got me interested in it, like at a level where I haven't been interested in a Marvel film. So I saw it with my buddy Ben in the theaters, and he and I were absolutely blown away. We were like, the whole ride home. I was flat out sold into the franchise. I'm like, every Marvel movie I will see now. It was just that good. And I've been seeing every movie since, and every theater opportunity I had. Winter Soldier, Age of Ultron, Civil War, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Black Panther, Infinity War, Endgame. I saw it all. I had a fun experience with the Age of Ultron movie when it came out. I went with my first roommate, and apparently when it was over and I just went to bed, he said I was talking in my sleep and I was discussing the Infinity Stones. I can't remember that, but I would love to hear my conversation with that. And Julia was actually with me when I went to go see Civil War, and she can probably tell you how my reactions were and how priceless they were. She said I was like at the edge of my seat during the airport battle and the final confrontation between Stark and Rogers. I had
Team Cap or Team Iron Man?
I thought about that very critically. I love Steve Rogers. I think he's my favorite character, and I relate to him the most personality-wise. But I think I would have to go with Team Iron Man because he was taking a new leaf and actually following the government and not trying to do any more wrong. But I just don't want to get in any trouble with the government ever, you see. I just want to be a good boy my whole life. So I'm very conflicted with how the sides turned.
Yeah, well, actually, I want to ask you about General Ross, because I think people look back at my favorite Marvel character is Hulk, and I have only gotten into Marvel very recently, but I'm disappointed that he only has one solo film, and Thor's got a whole trilogy, Cap's got a whole trilogy, Iron Man's got a whole trilogy, and it's not even the same. I mean, Ed Norton I think did a good job, but I think the actor change over to Mark Ruffalo kind of makes it a more forgotten film as well. It certainly doesn't help. But General Ross, of course, has the role of the antagonist in The Incredible Hulk, and then he comes back 8 years later in Civil War. So what do you think of his character and how Marvel Studios have used him over the years?
Why they brought William Hurt to come back as General Ross, I'm not sure. And I'm honestly not sure why they didn't do a second Hulk movie either. I'm guessing because ratings were poorer than the first Iron Man film, and just the whole rights with Universal, it was just becoming much of an issue. But why they brought him back, I have no idea. But I think it was interesting because only he would be the kind of person that would bring the government to do some kind of control on the heroes such as Hulk, the Avengers. I think he would just wants everything to be just at a normal level without heroes whatsoever. So I guess they thought he was right for the role given his recent history with Hulk. But I would love to see more of a story of a background of what Ross's life was like before we saw him come back.
And doesn't he become Red Hulk in the comics?
He does. He
Yeah.
does at some point, which is very ironic.
Yeah. I don't know. I know William Hurt's getting up there in age. I don't know if he could, at this point in his career, handle an action role like that. But I don't know if we'd ever see a Red Hulk in the MCU. But that's something
Maybe we can see a small reference. Maybe.
Yeah. Who knows? I know he's going to be in Black Widow, which of course now we have to wait a little bit longer.
Everything got pushed back by one release date.
Yeah. Well, except Spider-Man, but that hasn't been announced yet. But it's been.
I mean, if
production's been halted, but
if Mobius got pushed back, most likely this will too.
Yeah. Sony's halted production, I think, but yeah, but I haven't heard. There are rumors that a Venom 2 trailer is going to drop soon. But I feel like with Morbius getting pushed back, I don't see how they could continue to hold Venom 2's release date in the same place, even though it hasn't been officially announced. But
I wouldn't hold on to too much hope. I really wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, actually, I know it's not technically MCU. But Sony's trying to develop their own universe. So Venom was released a couple years ago. Critics didn't like it, but
Not
audiences were kind of mixed on it. What were your thoughts?
It's interesting. I don't think I absolutely hate it. There's just some stuff that I probably wouldn't have put in, but to have the relationship be more friendly and comical rather than intense and dark as we expect it to be, I think maybe they're trying to go down a Marvel Studios path to ensure that we can get Tom Holland to come into the movies, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
To make it more friendly for viewers, so they can't be completely blocked away from it, something like that.
Yeah, I'm hearing maybe he'll cameo in the second Venom movie, and then it'll lead to
the first time.
Yeah, it'll lead to a confrontation in Venom 3 if the franchise goes that far.
What would bring him all the way to New York, or to bring Spider-Man to San Francisco? That's my concern.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they could find a way. But who knows? You bring all the Avengers to Germany for Civil War. I think nothing's off limits. But
Sokovia, Age of Ultron.
Yeah. But I assume you've seen the Morbius trailer.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm pretty sure you saw Michael Keaton in there as well.
Right. Yeah. What was your reaction to that?
I thought, Michael Keaton, how about that? I was like, wait, does this mean that is he going to play the same character as he did in Homecoming? Because if he did, universe connection that can blow our minds.
Yeah, well, I've heard. I mean, Sony and Marvel clearly worked something out. Sony and Disney clearly worked something out.
There's a chance he may not play Vulture at all, but what I saw in the trailer, it was a white shirt, kind of like the same shirt.
The same shirt. Yeah.
In the post-credit scene.
So I don't know what else it could be. of course, it's just a teaser trailer, so maybe they don't want to give too much away and just kind of let the suspense uh, hang there for a little bit. But I
You can
don't know.
tell
I
that
feel
was
like I
spoilers.
know they've been saying Spider-Man can cross the two universes, so maybe. He even said in the trailer, from a studio that brought you Spider-Man: Homecoming and Spider-Man: Far From Home, and I know some Marvel fans got a little upset about that. But
I'm not sure if you also saw this, but there was a shot of a guy walking down some dark alleyway, but I think you could see a hint of a very small poster of Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
are you
I don't
talking
know.
about the thing that says murderer
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
as Morbius is? What? Yeah. So I've heard, and because people were saying, you bring in Vulture at the end and you try to have his connection, but you couldn't even get Tom Holland's suit. You used the Raimi suit or the PS4 suit. Some people were saying it was.
Well, let's face the PS4 Raimi suit is the Tobey Maguire suit.
Yeah, yeah. But other people were saying, it's not the final cut. It's not the final product. Maybe maybe they didn't use Tom Holland's suit because they wanted to make it a little bit more subtle. And then save the big. Is there an MCU connection at the end for when Michael Keaton comes out? But I don't know.
I mean,
There
it's
are a lot of questions
possible.
to be answered.
In the editing room, they can make a lot of changes all the time with the effects of green screen or just different shots of something you saw in a trailer versus a movie. They could mess with us all the time on that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So, what's your favorite? Looking at all 23 films overall, what do you think your favorite one is?
Endgame, no question.
No question.
No, when I saw Infinity War, when I saw that ending, it was something I was not expecting. It was well done to do such a cliche dodge like that, but I just felt traumatized and slightly damaged by the kind of ending and the weight it put on us. I just didn't know how to react to. I just like movies that are just completely satisfying to you. Like you're asking and demanding for something and then they deliver. I understand why they created an ending like that just to bring us tension to continue to another movie. They did the same thing with the Hunger Game movies, the Harry Potter movies, etc. But that was a moment where I felt like it really outdarked DC Comics kind of movies. I was dead silent for the rest of the night. No movie has ever done that for me before.
Yeah, I hear stories about how everybody walked out just kind of shocked and stunned, and
I
also
didn't cry though.
frustrated. Yeah, also frustrated that they just had to wait a whole year before they got Endgame so it could be resolved. But
That was a very hard year for me. It really was. But Endgame, I just felt was okay. Maybe they could have had a little less humor because it was such a traumatic event. Something should just keep that in mind throughout the movie. I don't know. I can see why they settled down after that 5-year gap. Spoilers if you haven't seen it.
yeah, well, yeah, I guess that goes without saying with everything we're talking about here. I'm sure we could spoil every single one of the movies in one way or another.
You know what? Go nuts.
Yeah, yeah. How about least favorite movie
Least
in the
favorite
whole
movie.
franchise?
I would have to say Iron Man 2. I love Robert Downey Jr., but he really pushed on a character that really troubled me. I think the thing that sold me and why I didn't like it was because his attitude in his quote final unquote birthday party. I just thought that attitude was. I just lost a little bit of respect for him in that role. I understand why he acted that way. It just didn't feel right at all. Plus, the final battle in that movie was like 2 minutes and didn't feel like a real threat at all. The main battle felt like it was going to be the scene in Monaco. That felt like it should have been the final battle alone. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say I don't know. Well, you say least favorite. Are you equating least favorite with worst or? I mean, let's be honest. Like, has Marvel ever really made a truly bad movie yet? I don't know. Like, if I should be saying worst or least best. But
A lot of people say that the worst movie they made was Thor: The Dark World.
yeah, that's kind of where I would lean as well.
I mean, I didn't
But
hate it, but there are a couple of things I would have rewrote if I were a screenwriter.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just I feel like it was its legacy's kind of been helped by Endgame a little bit. Like the movie's been made a little bit more important.
Oh yeah,
Um,
since Thor went to get the ether,
right.
but that movie is still kind of important because of the Infinity Stone. If I could take one thing away from the Dark World, absolutely one thing, it would be the character Darcy. For some reason, I just can't stand her at all.
Yeah. It seems to me the movie's got I don't know, it's hard to find things that are truly memorable about it. I don't know. That's just how I feel.
Maybe what they could take away was Loki's trickster final trickster act while he was sitting on Odin's throne, posing as Odin.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot in the movie that isn't perfect to say the least, but you know it's crazy. You know, you look at there's 23 of these movies, and even in like you were saying, Iron Man 2, Dark World, you know, movies that aren't considered great, you know, there's still a lot of good content there.
I mean, Iron Man 2, they also introduced Nick Fury and Black Widow on a higher level, which
Right.
also brought the importance of the legacy with Howard Stark and gave us more information about S.H.I.E.L.D. and introduced War Machine.
Yeah. Well, it introduced Don Cheadle as War Machine, right?
Yeah, but he was actually in the War Machine suit.
Okay, I get what you're
Terrence Howard, he just, in the original Iron Man, he just looked at the suit and that was it.
right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. One of these days, I need to go back and just like watch all 23 in order.
I mean, you got time right now.
Yeah. That's true. We're not doing much right now. Yeah, because most of them I've only seen once. I have seen all of them now, but the Guardians movies in particular, I've got to go back and rewatch because it's been a while.
The first one, in my opinion, was more important than the other because the first one actually had the Power Stone.
Yeah, I think that's where most people fall in terms of picking between the two movies, which one's better or more important or whatever.
And a lot of people preferred the original over the second one anyway. I don't know, but one thing you take away from Volume 2 was Baby Groot.
Yeah, that's true. Although I don't have you seen like I don't know how much you follow Star Wars, but everybody went crazy about Baby Yoda when The Mandalorian came out.
I'm not really that big into Star Wars. I may have some haters for that, but you know what? It's my opinion. But I have seen all the memes on Baby Yoda and all the questions if he's a spouse or if he's someone from before the original era. I've seen a lot of things.
I've seen a lot of people saying, you know, if you could only you could only save Baby Yoda or Baby Groot, which one would you do? And people would say, I'd burn Baby Groot to keep Baby Yoda warm.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. But
that's just can't we just live in a world where we can accept both?
Yeah. Yeah, the Star Wars fandom is I don't know, I think Disney's done a much better job with uniting the Marvel fan base than they have with the Star Wars fan base with the productions that they put out since they took that over.
Do you think at some point they're just gonna go completely bonkers and decide to make an MCU film connecting the Star Wars universe into one?
You know, I don't see why they can't at this point if Disney owns both, right? And Marvel Comics publishes the Star Wars comic releases. So
they did that. You're right. If I could choose a director to do that kind of stuff, I would say Taika Waititi.
Yeah, although I don't know how that. You see, I'm really big on continuity. I feel like errors like that just kind of bug me when there are oversights. I don't know if you remember in Civil War during the airport battle, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is talking about a move that he's going to pull off or something, and he says, "Hey guys, you ever seen that really old movie?
Empire Strikes Back? You know that part when they're on a snow planet with the walkie-talkie thingies?" I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, well, that to me just kind of you've already set a precedent that in this universe, there are Star Wars, and I think even in Winter Soldier when Cap pulls out, like Sam is first meeting Steve, and he pulls out the
Oh,
list of
the
like
Notebook.
everything I missed when I was in the ice, and I think Star Wars is on that list as well.
It was Star Wars / Trek, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Spider-Man: Homecoming. Peter and Ned were working on that Lego Death Star.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So you have multiple references. So I think that would make it kind of difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they could do like a Disney Plus special or something. But
Have it be a what if episode.
that's true. Yes, that's true. 'Cause I forgot that's coming out as well. Yeah. So let's get into phase 4 and upcoming projects a little bit. What are you most excited about?
Well, I just recently purchased Disney Plus, believe it or not. I can't believe I caved in. But the show I'm probably looking forward to is probably Falcon and Winter Soldier, just because we already established Bucky and Sam Wilson so much in the MCU alone. And I think we'll be really interested to see how these two interact and actually can work as a team. But we're probably more interested in seeing how Bucky is adjusting to the world without Steve, living his own normal life away from the Hydra threats and everything else. I don't know if you saw in the trailer, but he actually got a big haircut. He doesn't have that long hair anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about how different the universe is going to be now. Now that Tony's passed away and Steve is
Retired,
in his
probably dead.
in his hundreds. Yeah, and Hulk's arm's permanently damaged. So I mean, there's a lot that
Thor's off for the Guardians somewhere.
Thor's off for the Guardians. Yep. And Black Widow, obviously, Natasha.
That movie's good.
But
yeah.
That movie's supposed to take place after Civil War, though.
Between Civil War and Infinity War, yeah.
So,
I think
so I'm anxious to see what they'll do with that.
I think it may fill some gaps. A lot of people were spectating on the rumor that RDJ may come back for a small cameo role or something like that.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, if he does that, great. But if he doesn't, that's honestly fine because he ended on such a high note. I think it would just ruin that high note if he came back, even if it was for a movie in the past.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from there. Although I have to say I'm gonna feel kind of bad for Hawkeye, because I know he's getting a show, but he'll be the only OG Avenger without a solo film now.
Oh yeah, that's never gonna happen. Oh well.
Yeah.
This is the best they can do at this point.
Yep.
They really should have made a Black Widow movie during the Infinity Saga, but
yeah. So I'm a little concerned about I don't know the Thor movie.
Oh, Thor: Love and Thunder.
Thor: Love and Thunder. Yeah.
What's your concern on that?
Just Natalie Portman is the lead. I'm not. I don't really know how that's gonna.
You are aware Chris Hemsworth's coming back, right?
Right. Yeah, but it's like it's her movie, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be spectating on Lady Thor. I just want to know how she went from her scientist role to this.
Yeah.
This Lady Thor role.
Yeah, there's a lot to fill in there, and I don't know how well they're going to be able to do that.
Like, is Thor going to be in some battle with Stormbreaker and she just pops out of nowhere?
Yeah.
I don't know. But if Taika Waititi pulled off Ragnarok very well, then I can't wait to see what he does for this one.
Yeah. I'm not certain. I'm not like all doom and gloom. Like it's going to be the worst movie in Phase 4. I'm not saying that at all. I don't know. It's probably the one that I'm least excited about. Just because I don't know. I'll be surprised if well, I don't know. I shouldn't judge when we're still almost 2 years out from the release.
It is 2 years now.
Yeah.
That's 2020.
Yeah, there's a lot to I feel like they're gonna have to do a lot of they're gonna have to fill in a lot of information and fill it in well for the story to work. And also like the way I saw it was Thor was joining the Guardians now, and Guardians 3 hasn't even officially been announced in the lineup yet as to when it's got a release date. And so how do you bring Chris Hemsworth back into the equation there? So
maybe they'll do it a similar way as they did with Guardians 2. You know how that movie came out in 2017, but 2014, like a few months after the first one.
Right.
I would say that Love and Thunder will probably be at some point in the future. Like as right now, he's still with the Guardians, but they'll like put it like 2 years or something after he just probably abandons them and goes on his own path. I don't know. But I heard actually that the Guardians may be in the next Thor movie, so it may segue into that. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. The way Marvel movies work, you never know what kind of crossover you're gonna see.
The character I'm most intrigued about is actually Korg. He was one of my favorite characters in Ragnarok, and I heard he was going to have so much more screen time. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So we still don't know a whole lot about Spider-Man 3. We don't even have a title yet officially.
All I know is that Tom Holland said it was going to be bonkers.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm expecting big things from that. What were your thoughts when the whole deal with Sony broke down for about a month and then
Oh my god. I was so ticked off. I was frustrated. I did a rant on a website where I log my runs. And I just think, how can you end his story on a note like that? You just no, I won't accept it. You better do something right now. But after a month later was saved, I'm like, oh, I can breathe again.
Yeah. Well, how I felt is
why did they scare us in the first place like that?
I thought to myself, if Far From Home had just ended, like there hadn't been that post-credit scene, then
that would have been fine.
Yeah, like it would have been, well, okay, that's disappointing, but Sony will have him in their universe and his story will continue. But in terms of his MCU storyline, if you ended it on his identity being revealed or potentially being revealed, because you know how Mysterio works, right? I mean, maybe that was just an illusion that he was. I mean, we don't know anything at this point. So to have it end like that and then not be able to bring a conclusion to that story arc, would have been very disappointing.
That would have been very disappointing. But it's not the first time that Marvel had that path. I did watch that show, Agent Carter, during college, and season 2 ended on a questionable note. Minor character got shot, and we don't know why or what this will lead to, and then the series was just canceled. So that was just it.
Yeah, I need to watch TV shows. I still haven't I haven't seen any of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I've got a lot of catching up to do.
That's not on Disney Plus. I don't think it's on Netflix.
But... Yeah, not on Disney Plus. Although I'm sure once the Netflix lease ends, that maybe they'll bring that on at that point.
Maybe, or if anything, it'll probably be on Hulu too. If you do the Disney Plus and Hulu bundle.
Yeah. So who's your favorite? I know you're talking a lot about Iron Man and Captain America in the beginning, but who? Just thinking, maybe not even just strictly related to the MCU. Who's your favorite Marvel character? Period.
The favorite character. Oh boy. I would say, just as a character, I would say Steve Rogers. I know he's like an old man. He has the old traits, the personalities, what it's like to be a good person. I'm just that kind of person who just thinks the same. I just look for the good in people. I don't want to cause a scene. I just want to compromise, not start a fight or tension or anything. I just want to be a good man, just as he was. He knows the values of being a good man, which is what made him worthy for Mjolnir.
Yeah, I guess we can get into that a little bit. What was your reaction in the final battle when you saw him wield the hammer?
Okay, so my theater was actually pretty quiet until we got to that scene. When we got to that scene, everyone started up. I think I actually started that. But on the inside, I was screaming, "He's worthy!" That was what we went. That was just, yeah. That was honestly one of the greatest theater experiences I'll ever have, and I probably will never have again.
Yeah. Did you have Age of Ultron in the back of your mind? Because remember, there's that scene where they're all trying to do it, and if you look closely, you can see Steve's the only one that kind of lifts it really quickly a little bit, but he gives up and says, "I can't do it either."
I may have thought of it as a back thought, but I know I was thinking about it before I walked in. So actually, I was also scared if Steve Rogers was going to die. That was my main concern.
Yeah, I went into Endgame. I didn't see Endgame like the week it came out. I actually didn't see it until the re-release because I was still trying to get caught up and see all the movies that I needed to see. So by that point, I already knew. I knew that Tony Stark was the one that was gonna end up losing his life, but I didn't necessarily know how it was gonna play out. But when you see like, it's the three of them taking on Thanos, and Iron Man gets taken out and Thor gets taken out, and then it's just Steve with his broken
That
shield.
that
And
beautiful
Thanos's
shot.
Thanos's whole army is entering the scene, and like Steve tightens the strap, and like I would have been so sure that if I hadn't known what was coming, that was going to be the end for him.
I thought that was the second most beautiful visual shot of the entire movie, and that is a exact reference to the panel where Steve goes face to face with Thanos and says, "As long as one man stands against you, Thanos, you will never be able to achieve victory." And that was the thoughts in my head, and I just thought, yes, they delivered on that.
And then, of course, the portals start opening up.
Oh, the portals
right away. What was your theater's reaction to that?
I don't remember the theater's reactions. I just remember my personal reactions. I was very calm when T'Challa, Shuri, and Okoye came out. When Doctor Strange came out, I was really getting excited. And when Spidey came, I was absolutely grinning and losing it. Seeing Bucky, Korg, Valkyrie, Wong, I was literally shaking. I could not control myself whatsoever.
Yeah, this is where I really liked Silvestri's score, because I feel like it just keeps raising and raising and building momentum.
It kept escalating. Yeah,
and every time you think like it's hit its climax,
there's more.
Yeah, and Wong even says what you wanted more, and then Ant-Man becomes Giant Man and brings Hulk and War Machine and Rocket out. Yeah, so he's always finding a way to squeeze out just a few more characters before you finally get to the Avengers Assemble line.
Oh, I bet if there were more, he would have found a way to keep it going. I'm sure he would have.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I also thought that when the original score came back, it was much more triumphant than ever before, because in the main line, there would just be strings, but he added a brass and a choir as well. That just made it feel more like a full orchestra and just bringing everyone all in a big circle, I guess. I don't know. Fun fact, actually, I read that when the Avengers Endgame logo appears in the movie, only half the orchestra was playing in that time. I guess they let the horns and brass bring it out a little more, but it was just only half.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Kind of a nod to the Fun Avengers that got snapped out. Yeah.
I just that was amazing. This will want me to segue into after Tony snap.
Yeah. So Tony takes the stones and snaps his fingers, what's going through your mind as you're watching that?
I just took a deep breath of relief, and I was just thinking, we did it. A part of me actually felt bad for Thanos. I don't know why I felt that way. I think it was because of the expressions on his face and just in his utter defeat. But I'm just like, you know what? He wanted genocide. Let him die. But when Tony died, or he was like in his last breath of life, I was very calm. I acknowledged that it was coming. But when his arc reactor turned off for the last time, I just lost it. All my emotions and expressions just poured out. I was sobbing, like full out sobbing. I haven't done that in the theater ever since Dumbledore's death in Half-Blood Prince. Oh, spoiler alert, sorry. But
All right,
I couldn't keep my eyes open during the whole funeral and just that whole time when they played that track, The Real Hero. I just couldn't do it. That's how powerful of an impact that movie made, as well as the representation of the entire Marvel universe, how much has been expanded and created, just how the past 11 years have transformed all of us.
yeah, I don't really think there could have been anybody else in that position. You know, it had to be Stark, had to be Iron Man.
He started the MCU. He was the godfather of it all. If we're going to end this saga, end it with him.
Yeah. So I guess keep going here on the Endgame theme. You know, there are so many. It's not a perfect movie. But there are so many things in those 3 hours that you can take away from that, and even the credits, you know, are very well done and beautifully put together. What did you think of how Marvel decided to go about those?
I thought that was kind of original. Like, I wouldn't say it's original. I'm sure other movies have done that before, but it was fresh and different because we're just used to starting at the top billing instead of escalating to the final building of the most important character. I thought that was well done, and I acknowledge that we should do more of that if we could. When we got to the credits, though, and the movie ended, I just felt completely satisfied with how the movie was. I did notice a few errors after a few rewatchings, but you know what? That doesn't matter to me. In other movies, it would, but it didn't.
So obviously there are other Marvel movies outside of the MCU. How many of those have you seen? What are some of your favorites outside of that particular continuity?
The movies that I have seen outside the MCU, I saw the original Spider-Man trilogy, obviously. I also saw the first Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. I didn't hate it. I didn't see the second one, though, because I just saw the picture of who was playing Harry. Nope, I'm not doing it. Nope. I also saw the original X-Men, and I didn't want to see the Deadpool movie, but that was the only Marvel movie my friends were actually interested in, so they kind of made me watch it against my will. But those were the only movies I saw. I haven't actually seen the movie Logan, but I know enough of the movie already, so.
I know Logan's generally considered very good. So actually something that I guess, again, a lot of questions still to be answered, but with Disney buying Fox, the third Deadpool movie is going to be produced under the Marvel Studios banner. So what do you think of a third movie being under Marvel Studios?
Well, knowing how Deadpool was in the comics, whenever he interacted with the Avengers and just his character in general, he'll just do anything to just mess everything up and just have fun in that process. I know that there's a lot of speculation on whether it's going to just be dwindled down to PG-13 or remained as an R-rated film. And to my recent knowledge, I believe it's still going to be an R-rated film. So that's going to be an interesting brand for Disney.
Yeah. Well, didn't they did something like, what was it? Once Upon a Deadpool
They did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw that reviews on that were not great at all on IMDb. It was like 4 or 5 out of 10 stars. And I think that's because they're taking away who Deadpool really is as a character. That's the reason why it did so well as Logan. Since it was rated R, they made Logan the character that he was intended and supposed to be. But I think the same issue applies to Deadpool.
Yeah, I think when you look at the character, it's really an R-rated character. If you want to do the movie right. So, I still haven't seen either of those movies. They're on my list. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go about making the third one. So of all of course, the Spider-Verse is so massive. If you look at Tobey Maguire's movies, Andrew Garfield's movies, Tom Holland's. Who do you think's been the best Spider-Man?
I would have to say Tom Holland. I know a lot of people prefer Tobey Maguire over Tom Holland, but I only say that because the most Spider-Man experience I had was with Tom Holland. I didn't really associate with Tobey Maguire growing up, so I didn't know too much about the character. And I just think Tom Holland's just a fun actor. He's going to be really working his way. Like in the movies, he could have the potential of being the next Robert Downey Jr. And I think he'll have great fun with it. And he just wants to be Spider-Man as long as he can be. Let's hope he doesn't have any back injuries like Tobey did.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of good things that are going to come out of how they're going to use his character. We just have to hope that the Sony relationship doesn't break down again, so they don't give us another scare. But
please not again.
Yeah. So looking at all the Spider-Man live action movies, individually, which one is your favorite?
All of them.
All of them?
Yeah. I would have to say it's going to be a very close tie, but I think Far From Home was my favorite. The second one would have been Into the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that one.
That's what I was thinking. You said
yeah.
There's 8 Spider-Man movies. 2 with the MCU, 3 with McGuire, 2 with Garfield, and Miles.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was doing that. Was thinking Tom's got his third movie, so I added 3 somewhere in there.
9 if you include Venom. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you can really include Venom. At least not yet. And we'll see where they take the story. But yeah, I don't know. I like Spider-Man too. I think that's considered by a lot of people to be their favorite.
I'm aware of that. I understand why it's their favorite, but for me, it's because it has a lot more reality issues and it emphasizes more on Parker luck. But in my opinion, I just felt like they pushed Parker luck a little too hard, and I just didn't like the constant backlash on Peter from the public, his professor, Osborn, and his dwindling relationship with MJ, and the way it was just too much and he gave up. I know he did that in the comics at some point. It just felt disheartening to me, and I just didn't like that feeling.
Yeah, so the Raimi trilogy is famous for J.K. Simmons and J. Jonah Jameson.
J.K. Simmons. I applaud J.K. Simmons no matter where he is.
Yeah. What did you think of him coming back in Far From Home?
Oh, I was not expecting that. I know that Stan Lee wasn't going to come back because of what happened, but I thought J.K. Simmons? Oh, he's no Stan Lee, but he'll do very much. That was probably the highest moment where I lost it. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
That was like the best surprise of the movie.
Yeah, I think a lot of people say, you're always going to associate RDJ with Iron Man, and J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson's the same way.
Oh, yeah.
There's just nobody else that you could get to play that role.
But I would say that if he's doing the MCU and he did the Raimi trilogy, then they're going to have to do some changes to the character. For example, I think because of age, he doesn't have his hair.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of weird seeing him without hair.
And a Daily Bugle is more like a online internet paper or podcast kind of thing.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people make comparisons to InfoWars. It kind of being like an InfoWars conspiracy theory, like Spider-Man's the evil menace, kind of giving it that kind of reputation. But I don't know.
I don't know either, but I heard the rumor that the Tobey Maguire director Sam Raimi, he may direct the second Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too, right? Because Derrickson's out.
Yeah, Derrickson's out. I am so mad that he was on campus and I didn't even know about it.
Yeah. Was that?
That was after I graduated.
After you, yeah. So that was just last year then. So yeah, you missed out on that.
I was so mad because I was still looking for a job. If I knew about that ahead of time, I would have gone down.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody thought to tell you, or
No one told
you
me.
hadn't heard?
Was there an announcement before he arrived? Because I didn't hear anything.
Well, I think it was a convocation or something. So I mean, it had to have been in
It was a
everybody's.
convocation. It was a convocation. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it had to have been in everybody's schedule. But
I had no
yeah,
idea about it. Doctor Strange was one of my favorite movies of the MCU. I'm just so mad that I wanted to talk to him.
yeah, yeah. It was a very good movie, and I don't know, but I mean, Raimi's obviously a very good director. So I think the second movie will still be in good hands if he does indeed end up getting that role.
They even referenced Doctor Strange in the second Spider-Man movie.
Right? Something about
They're finding a name for Doctor
yeah,
Octopus.
yeah, yeah. But that's taken, right? Is that
Yeah,
the
that's
yeah,
taken. Yeah.
yeah? So it would be funny if he does come back to direct it. It's like everything coming full circle in some ways.
That'd be pretty neat.
Yeah,
If Derrickson was going to stay, he said it was going to be more of an like the first MCU kind of horror movie, which I wasn't too fond about. If we did that, I just don't do horror movies. I thought the first movie alone was great. Derrickson's known for his horror movies.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely a lot of questions that are going to have to be answered throughout Phase 4. And it's unfortunate that there's a global crisis right now. It's pushed everything back. So we're going to have to wait a little bit longer. But
We have more than enough Marvel movies to keep us occupied in the time being. But.
absolutely. All right. Well, Tunes, it was a pleasure to have you on and catch up with you. I hope you're staying safe and doing well. And yeah, keep up the good work with your running. I really admire how you've continued to give us updates about that on social media. And, even though you've graduated now, you're still staying active. And I think that's very, very good. So best of luck to you in these challenging times, and hope to hear more from you soon.
Thank you, and you do well.
Thank you.